All right. Can you look at the camera and say hello?
How
Oh, good job.
did stop?
Now that I'm a parent, I take way more pictures than I used to. And I realize that this generation of parents, the generation right now, is probably taking more pictures than any other previous generation of parents ever has. Pretty much everyone has a cell phone with a halfway decent camera in it. So there's not a lot of technical limitation to capturing great photos. But even though our cameras are capable of taking great photos, not a lot of people know how to do it. And really, there are a few simple tips and techniques that can help anyone take better photos, and especially better photos of their children.
No. Down.
Today, I'm going to share with you 5 tips to help you take better pictures of your children. And along the way, I'm going to show you some example pictures that I've taken of this cute girl, both the good and the bad, to show you and help you visualize the tips. Tip number 1, get at eye level. In my opinion, this is the single greatest thing you can do to get better pictures of your kids. If you take pictures from where you typically hold your phone, your child will probably have to crane their neck to look at you, and the background of the picture will simply be the ground or the floor. If you lower your camera to the eye level of your child, they will be much more relaxed and natural when looking at the camera, and the background can add context or visual interest to the photo. Similarly, sometimes you need to get up close and personal for the best photos. Get in the action, don't simply take the easy picture from where you're standing. Tip number 2, capture emotion or expression. A picture of a laughing child in a boring place is probably going to be more interesting than a picture of an emotionless child in an epic location. Emotions are the essence of memorable photos. Try to catch those genuine moments that truly reflect your child's personality. And be aware that smiles don't always make for the best photos. Sometimes a scowl or a silly face can be much more interesting than a smile. Here are some photos from my daughter's first birthday. And the one on the left, it's a perfectly fine photo. But in 5 years, 10 years, 50 years from now, the photo that I look at is probably going to be this photo on the right, because this is a much more engaging photo. It shows the moment that my daughter was very upset that we put this hat on her head. Tip number 3, pay attention to lighting. You may not have control of where light is coming from, but you do have control of where you are and where your child is. Well, sometimes you have control of where your child is. An evenly lit face is generally going to be more pleasing than a face that has shadows running across it. If the lighting is not great where you're at, reposition your child or move yourself so that the light is coming from a direction that looks good. If you're indoors, windows are a great source of diffused light. Here's some photos that I took with intentional lighting. I actually have a softbox that I used and I lit, and you can see in both of these photos there's a bit of shadow behind my daughter, and it gives her a bit of a studio look, which you may or may not like, but it does result in a very pleasing image. Tip number 4, simplify the background. There are many strategies you can use to simplify the background. Probably the easiest is to turn on portrait mode on your cell phone. Other ways you can simplify the background are by simply moving to the left or the right until the background is simpler than it was before. Sometimes you can zoom in or crop, and that will remove distractions as well. A clean background directs focus to your child, making the photo more compelling. There are some cases where you actually want to include the surroundings in the photo to give it some context. Even when you do that, try to make sure that the background isn't too busy and that the focus of the photo is where you want it to be, which is probably your child. The photo on the left is the same as the photo on the right. You may not realize that, but they are the same photo. I much prefer the photo on the right. I cropped it to the part of the image that I actually found interesting. I didn't care as much about the rest of the photo. And so just by cropping and rotating a little bit, it simplified the background significantly. All you can see is a single solid color. Tip number 5, take a lot of photos and be patient. As I've already demonstrated with my child earlier, kids move around a lot and it's hard to control them. So sometimes you just have to take a lot of pictures and be ready for the moment. If your child is moving around a lot, sometimes you got to adopt the spray and pray technique of taking a whole bunch of photos and hoping that at least one of them is worth keeping. Burst mode on your phone or your camera can be a lifesaver, especially with the energetic kids. And you've got to be patient. Getting good pictures is hard, and your kids move around a lot. You're not always going to capture the most exciting moment or the best facial expression, but that's okay. if you're willing to wait for the right moment and you take a lot of pictures, sometimes you'll be rewarded with the perfect moment or a great big smile. So there you have it. Those are my 5 tips for taking better pictures of your children. Remember, practice makes perfect, and these things aren't going to come overnight. They're not going to happen naturally. You have to think about it and practice it. If you found these tips helpful, like the video and leave a comment below. If I missed anything or you have any great tips of your own, leave them in the comments below so that we can all learn from it. Thanks, and I'll see you next video. Okay, bye. Can you say goodbye? Say goodbye. Say goodbye.
Bye.
Good job.
Bye. Hello. Hello. Hello.
I realize that parents nowadays probably have taken more pictures than any previous generation
Hello.
has.
Ah.